The Kansas wind was a punishment from God. It scoured the land with gritty fury, stealing breath and burying hope under layers of dust. Cora stood on the patch of earth that had cost her everything, the deed clutched in her work-roughened hand like a prayer. Before her crouched the sod house, a low, grim mound of earth that seemed to sink into the prairie rather than rise from it. Her children formed a silent, trembling tableau behind her. Isaiah, 12 going on 40, with eyes that had seen too much. Elijah, 8 and too quiet for his age. And baby Hope, a warm weight against Cora's chest. Then she saw him. A rider on the ridge, silhouetted against the bleached-out sky like a vulture waiting for death. He sat his horse with the stillness of a predator, a shotgun resting across his saddle. The message was clear without words. This is my land. Get off. Isaiah's hand found hers, small but calloused already. Mama. Cora's heart hammered against her ribs. She had run from men with ropes in Louisiana, from the memory of her husband swinging from a live oak for a crime everyone knew he didn't commit. She had spent her last coin, used her last strength to reach this promised land. She was done running. The rider descended. Jeremiah, they'd called him in town, a Confederate ghost, missing one leg below the knee, his wooden stump tapping a funeral dirge against his stirrup. He stopped 10 yards away, his winter-pale eyes sweeping over her, her children, their meager pile of dreams. "You're on my land," he rasped, voice like stone grinding stone. Cora held up the deed. "Land office paper. This is my claim." He spat tobacco juice that stained the dust like blood. "Papers. I was here first, fought for this country. This land owes me." His gaze fell on the crude cross she'd planted for the life they'd left behind. "You ain't got the sand for this, woman. Winter'll freeze ya, summer'll bake ya, Comanche'll take ya, if I let you last that long." He turned his horse without waiting for reply. Cora watched him go, her hand stroking Hope's head. She had run from men with ropes. She would stand against a man with a claim. Jeremiah's war was one of quiet brutality. He came not with fire and bullets, but with silence and sabotage. Morning revealed their well fouled, a dead coyote floating in the precious water. Isaiah, digging a latrine, struck a nest of rattlesnakes that hadn't been there at sunset. When Cora unrolled her precious seed sack, she found it slit, kernels scattered like lost hopes. It became a war of inches, fought with sweat and stubbornness. Cora's hands, once skilled with needle and thread, grew raw and cracked from wrestling the unyielding sod. She taught Isaiah to hold the rifle, not for hunting, but for watching. The boy became a sentinel on the soddy roof, his small frame a defense against the vast horizon and the man who haunted it. One evening, Jeremiah rode down as the sky bled crimson. "Still here," he noted, not a question. "We are," Cora said, not looking up from her bean sorting. "Heard a story," he said casually, "about a colored man down Louisiana. Got himself lynched. They say his woman ran off with his young'uns, stole money." He paused, letting the poison settle. "Makes you wonder what kind of woman brings her children to die out here." Cora's head snapped up. Isaiah leveled the rifle from the roof. "You get away from my mama!" the boy shouted, voice cracking. Jeremiah almost smiled. "Like I said, you ain't got the sand." He rode away, leaving the lie festering in the twilight. That night, Cora cried silent tears into her thin pillow. It wasn't the work breaking her. It was the loneliness, vast and empty as the prairie itself. The change came through a dog. Jeremiah's grizzled, one-eyed cattle dog named Grit. A week after the taunt, Cora heard pained yelping from the creek. Isaiah came running back, breathless. "Mama, it's that man's dog, caught in a trap." Cora didn't hesitate. She grabbed her skinny knife and their last clean rags. She found Grit, his leg mangled and rusty iron jaws whimpering in the mud. He growled as she approached. "Easy, fella," she cooed, using the same tone she used for her frightened children. "I know it hurts." She pried the jaws apart, muscles straining. Grit yelped and snapped, teeth grazing her wrist. She didn't flinch. She cleaned the wound, packed it with yarrow, bound it tight with precious rags. Isaiah and Elijah helped carry the heavy animal back, making him a bed by the door. Next morning, Grit was gone. So was the blood-stained trap. In their place sat a fresh-killed jackrabbit on a flat rock. No note, no acknowledgement, just a silent offering. The sabotage ceased. Jeremiah still watched from his ridge, but the poison visits stopped. An unspoken truce, brokered by the loyalty of a dog.
The sky turned a sickly green, the air growing heavy and silent, pressing down like a physical weight. Then Cora saw it, a rolling, churning cliff of dirt and darkness swallowing the world whole. "The house! Now!" she screamed. They scrambled inside, sealing the door with wet blankets. Then, through the howling wind, she heard it, a child's scream, not from inside. Elijah! In the chaos he'd strayed, Cora threw the door open into a suffocating brown hell. She screamed his name, the wind stealing the sound. Suddenly, a figure loomed from the gloom, Jeremiah. Bandana over his face, eyes slits against the stinging grit. In his hand, a coil of rope. He looped one end around his waist, thrust the other toward her. His meaning was clear, together or not at all. They plunged into the maelstrom, rope taut between them, calling Elijah's name until their throats were raw. Just as hope began to drown in dirt, Jeremiah pointed. A flash of red yarn from Elijah's coat peeked from a gully. They found him huddled there, Grit the dog shielding him with his own body. The ex-Confederate and the black seamstress huddled in that ditch, their bodies a shield around the boy, waiting for the world to end.
The storm passed, leaving a world painted monochrome brown. They dug out, coughing black phlegm, and stumbled back to the soddy. Inside, by candlelight, Cora tended to Elijah, while Jeremiah stood awkwardly by the door. "The land," he finally rasped. "It don't care if you're blue or gray, black or white. It'll kill you just the same." Cora looked at him, really looked. Not a monster, but a broken man haunted by his own ghosts. "My husband was a preacher. He didn't steal anything. A white man died, and they needed someone to blame. They didn't need proof. I'm not running from justice, Mr. Jeremiah. I was running from the lack of it." Jeremiah nodded, a short, sharp gesture, and walked out. Next morning, Cora awoke to the sound of an axe. Not destruction, construction. Jeremiah was chopping the wooden claim divider into stakes for a new doorframe. He didn't speak of partnership. He simply saw work that needed doing. Spring came gently. The prairie bloomed in breathtaking color. One evening, Jeremiah approached with a cloth-wrapped package. "Cottonwood," he grunted. "Grows fast. Give shade." They walked to a spot between the soddy and creek, digging together without words. As they covered the seeds, Jeremiah looked out at the land that had tried to break them both. "Reckon it's a good spot." Cora looked at her children, Isaiah laughing with Grit, Elijah chasing fireflies,
Hope sleeping in a rocking chair. She looked at the man beside her, his face no longer bitter, just tired and at peace. "Yes," she said, a smile touching her lips for the first time in forever. "It's a good spot." The sun set the Kansas sky on fire. The first seeds of their future were in the ground, and for the first time, on that vast and unforgiving plain, it felt like home.